Should Tom Aspinall fight John Jones next? And is Leon Edwards one of the worst champions we've ever had? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So UFC 304 is in the bag. It was a little bit of a sour note at the end of the card, but overall, I've enjoyed this pay-per-view. Mark, let's talk about the real main event, the people's main event first. Tom Aspinall defeated Curtis Blades in under a minute. Did you expect Tom to look as good as he did in this fight?
No, and it really did. I was always rooting for Tom, but to prove me wrong, to get it done in that fashion in bang on 1 minute, Dwayne, to get Curtis Blades out of there, that's almost unheard of, unless you call Francis Ngannou. Tom Aspinall proves time and time again that he does belong there, and he should be calling out the king of UFC in John Jones right now.
Yeah.
He's got every single right to be calling him out, and he probably has the right to be saying that, him or Stipe should take the honourable fight in the interim champion.
Yeah,
Tom
definitely.
Aspinall, always impressive, super. You couldn't have asked for a better performance tonight. Reclaimed that one blemish back on his UFC record in dominant fashion.
Yeah, he really, really did. And I was kind of expecting a little bit more from this fight because Curtis is so technically able. He's a fantastic striker. He's a very good grappler. I really thought we might see Tom tested here and we might see Tom not even get a finish, maybe go to a decision and a real back and forth war over 5 rounds. But no, not a chance. Tommy Aspinall is not there to mess around. He wants to be in and out. He said he's an hungry lad. He wants to go home, have some KFC, have some pizza. I don't blame him. Good for him. And it's great to see Tom win, isn't it? I was so happy for him. And I think it's great to see a real English champion really at the top of his game, a phenomenal fighter. And I think he can be metaphorically and physically the best, the biggest fighter on the planet, the next big thing, right?
Absolutely. 2002 Brock Lesnar. But you was only 24 minutes away from getting your 5 round back and forth war because Tom got it done in 60 seconds. That's the thing. The actual punch itself, I'm not sure. Obviously, Curtis felt it, but it looked more like a kind of stumble from where his feet were placed.
Yeah.
But you give Tom an inch and he will take a mile from you. Jumped right on top of him, ground and pound. Curtis protested the finish, but what was it, 13 unanswered strikes?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it's justified.
Well, I was going to ask you, what did you think of the finish? But you've already answered that. And so it's difficult because, yes, Curtis wasn't out. Yeah, he got straight up. He didn't seem too physically damaged. But like you're saying, 13 unanswered strikes, you've got to be moving. You've got to be doing something. And it felt like a matter of moments that yeah, Curtis got up after Tom let him get up. But Tom was just going to keep wailing. And it felt like the end was going to come sooner rather than later, right? But rather now, let's move away from this fight a little bit and sort of talk about what's next for Tom. Tom Aspinall has said that he wants to fight John Jones, and I think it's the right fight to make. Do you think Stipe needs to step aside and that we need to have John Jones versus Tom Aspinall by the end of the year?
I would love. I'd love to see that fight. I've been wanting to see that fight for a couple of years now, even when Tom was nowhere near the top of the division. I just don't think Stipe has done enough just from name value alone and his accolades in the past in order to still have this title shot after his last fight was in 2021 where he got beat. His last win was in mid 2020, I believe, against DC, who feels like been retired forever. That was Stipe's last win. I just think if Stipe was to step aside, I don't think there's many fans that would be that upset giving Tom Aspinall the opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. And it's like, if you look at Stipe, he's still in the top 10. I think he's ranked 6 off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure, but it's around that. And it's like, how can you be ranked in the top 10 when you've not fought since 2021 and it was a loss? A very, very brutal KO loss. Look, I love Stipe. I'm a big fan, or should I say, I was a big fan. But we now need to move forward, right? We have got the best heavyweight on the planet right here, ready to go to face the GOAT by so many standards of this sport. This is the biggest fight the UFC can make, and I feel as though we're wasting an opportunity, and it's heartbreaking because I am concerned that we're going to get Jones versus Stipe in November, and both of them are going to retire. And it's like, okay, well then now where does that leave the division, right?
Mhm.
It's like we'll likely get Tom versus Cyril Gane. Tom will batter Cyril Gane, and then what? You know, it's like, okay, now we've kind of got a boring dead division. We just one big guy right at the top because after this performance, I don't see anyone beating Tom. And someone who has a chance to beat him is John Jones because of that skill and that experience he has, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you just mentioned that John and Stipe potentially in November. You go, well, you've got Tom Aspinall now, who is unscathed from a fight in July. He's the interim champion. So we're waiting until November. Then you got to wait for those two to recover, presuming they don't retire. So you think, is it going to be close to a year before we see Tom Aspinall fighting again? I don't think Tom's going to want to take that time off, to be honest. And I
No.
don't blame him if he doesn't. If he starts making his demands, I know he's not the champion yet, technically, but I think he's got every right to. You can't cap and limit success and ambition,
Yeah.
rather than just saying, well, from name value, these two need to fight more. I'm not seeing any fans online who are eager and excited to see John versus Stipe. A few years ago, yes, not so much
Yeah.
anymore.
I think the only fans that I see calling for that fight are John Jones fans who know that it's a relatively easy win for the guy that they're meat riding, right? Do you know what I mean? And that's literally it. And it's like, I feel like these John Jones fans need to be honest with themselves, right? Jones is proving to me time and time again he's a coward. He's afraid to fight Tom Aspinall. And I just don't see it any other way. Like, yeah, fine, you can talk about money, you can talk about all this stuff, but Tom Aspinall is going to be one of the biggest stars in mixed martial arts. He is the next big thing. John Jones needs to fight Tom. I
Mm.
don't see it any other way. And if he doesn't fight him, I think he's a spineless coward. I really, really do. And I genuinely think it's pathetic. This is how angry I am with John Jones. I think he needs stripping. If he's not going to fight, piss off. Go away. Go fight Jake Paul. And if you want to make some money, do not fight in this sport anymore. I'm bored of you. But just go do some drugs, beat your wife up, leave me alone. I just don't care. I'm not interested anymore.
Moving swiftly on, Dwayne.
Yeah, okay,
We
let's
also
move
had another
on.
fun fight on this card.
Right, yeah, let's move away quickly before I get more agitated. So we have Paddy Pimblett proving everyone wrong against Bobby or King Green. I'll give him a little bit of respect. King Green came out and got submitted within a round. Mark, did you expect Paddy to look as good as he did in this fight?
No, I didn't. And if you go back to our predictions video, we both mentioned that we think Paddy's going to be able to get a submission. The later it got in the week and the closer it became to fight night, I actually thought Paddy might get a decision win rather than a submission. If you remember the fight, Bobby actually initiated a takedown.
Yeah.
Paddy was able to sprawl, turned it round, got it was a guillotine. Soon as his head was out, Paddy's leg was already over his shoulder. Nasty triangle choke. I think he was already out cold before the ref had noticed
Yeah.
because he just laid there flat. Such an impressive win for Paddy Pimblett, breaking into that top 15 with a bang. Now, everyone knew who Paddy was before, but now everyone will remember him as a legitimate top contender.
Definitely, and that's the thing, isn't it? When we came into this fight, I was concerned for Paddy because it felt like he wasn't progressing enough. So every time he came out and fought, it felt like the same mistakes were there. He was always had this low guard. He always seemed so vulnerable, and I thought, oh, fighting someone like Bobby is a big risk. He has got some fantastic KO power, and if he lands on Paddy, it's all over. But I think it's interesting because we were expecting Bobby, who's, a first rate boxer, he's got some fantastic striking, was losing the striking exchanges, even though they were minimal. And that forced Bobby to go for a takedown because he wasn't liking what he was getting hit with. And then it was all over. It's shown to me that Paddy is making these improvements now that he needs. And I'm excited to see where he moves forward after this. Who do you think you'd like to see him fight next in this lightweight division?
Well, they did call out Moicano, didn't
Yeah.
he? And I think that would be an absolute excellent fight. I would love to see that. And it's the right path to go down, I think. You can't force Paddy just because he's beat number 15, only just in the rankings. You can't force him to fight number 7 or whatever, can you?
Mm,
It's a natural progression. This is how it works. Meccano versus Pimblett would sell. And I think skill
yeah.
wise, they're very, very evenly matched up. Both guys have a few holes. Both guys have their extreme strengths as well. And it's a fight that I'd love to see. Paddy left this quite unscathed.
Yeah.
So, we could get it sooner rather than later. You never know.
Yeah, definitely we could. And Marcano is fighting Benoit Saint Denis next, isn't it? I think within just a few weeks, it's not too far off this fight. And I think unfortunately he might get absolutely battered by Benoit Saint Denis. He's shown he's a big, big guy. And I think for Marcano, though, if he loses, it's like, oh, are you then going to give him to Paddy? I always like winners versus winners. And if he does win, well, why would he now fight someone so low down? He's just beat this guy who's come off against a top opponent like Dustin Poirier. So it's really difficult. I'm not sure if that fight will actually happen, even though it's ideal. I guess you've got someone like Jalen Turner that might be interesting. And I say it all the time, Rafael dos Anjos. And the issue is, I think it's only those kind of options because I don't think Paddy can move up to that top 10 outside of Meccano. Like you've got what? Max Holloway, Faceve, Dariush, Michael Chandler. Actually, Dariush
We did mention
could be
Dariush.
real good thinking about it. Now I've said that.
Well, we
Benil
mentioned it in the
Dariush.
in the predictions, didn't we? We said who do you
Yeah,
want to
we
see him fight
did.
next? And you're like, actually, yeah,
Yeah.
Dariush, yeah. Let's give him the Sean O'Malley Piotr Jan treatment. Throw him right up with the Wolves.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got Paddy can go up against this guy who would be a real big test for him. But I feel like we say that about Paddy all the time, right? We always
Mm.
talk about Paddy like, oh, yeah, his next fight will be his biggest test ever. But when you're moving up in the most dangerous division within the UFC, it's always going to be a big test, isn't it? It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But now, Mark, let's talk about the final fight of the evening. A very, very sour note to end the card, and unfortunately, a sour note to end the video. Leon Edwards lost to Belal Muhammad. Are you disappointed with Leon Edwards in sort of his championship run? It feels as though he has just been sort of just coasting along, right, as this champion. And
Well, you look at his defenses. Well, after he won the gold, after his Rocky moment, the moment that we all remember, his first defense against Usman, everyone said Usman didn't quite look like himself. That isn't the old Usman, the Kamaru that we know and loved so well, regarded as one of the best pound for pounds. Then he fought against Colby. Colby didn't bring a thing to the octagon apart from wasting everyone's time. And then he's fought against Belal, and he's a frustrating fighter to watch because he's got the tools, and when he does pull them out the bag and he does actually make use of his skills, he
mm,
puts on a ridiculous performance. But when he doesn't, very frustrating to watch.
yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because like I was saying up to this week, I was saying I'm starting to become a fan of Leon finally because he seemed really charming this week and with the crowd behind him, he seemed pumped, he seemed exciting. And I felt, okay, if he can come forward, put some pressure on and show us a good fight, he could be a big star. And I think Leon Edwards has kind of wasted this title run that he's had. I think he's just floundered there, coasted along against his opponents. And I think with that third match with Usman, he was very, very lucky to get the win. I felt like with the point deduction and all the cheating, it could have quite easily been a draw for that card. And then against Colby, I don't know what Colby was doing, but he did nothing, right? He brought nothing to it. And I think Leon he's just happy to coast. And it's such a shame because he's so talented. He's a fantastic striker, clearly a fantastic wrestler. And when we saw him active in this fight against Belal, he looked great. Do you know what I mean? That third round, he dominated the position. He was constantly vying for submission attempts. And within that last 30 seconds against Belal, he bust him open. There was blood everywhere. I thought, oh my God, maybe he's going to turn it around. Maybe he's going to do something special. No, nothing. And now we've got Belal Muhammad as the welterweight champion. And I am worried for this division now. I feel it's going to be more waiting around, more boring fights. And it's disappointing, isn't it? Because there's some great fighters coming up like Shavkat, um, um, Ian Gary, and Jack Della Maladalena. There's him as well. There's all those three guys coming up viable and ready to fight. And I'm not sure Belal's gonna fight those guys. I think he might go, oh, I'll get a fight with Colby, I'll get a fight with Usman, these big names instead.
Well, you look at how inactive Belal has been over the past couple of years anyway.
Mm.
That's the thing that slows it down. He's actually got the tools. He's a fantastic fighter.
Yeah.
He's just not fun to watch, and he never really has been. The only fight that I can recall that really was entertaining was it Sean Brady got a
Yeah.
TKO win in the first round, was it?
Yeah, second
That's
round, I think, off the top of my head, I think it was the second round. But yeah, we saw something different from Belal there, didn't we? It was strange. He went and trained with the Dagestanis and came back a striker. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? I did not expect that at all. And just sort of on the topic of striking, the hands of Canelo, perhaps he doesn't have, but he was winning all of the striking exchanges, right? And he showed little to no fear from Belal striking. He walked him down and just took it and just kept going and kept going. Did you expect to see Belal perform as well as he did?
not really, no. I thought there would have been a bit more of a sign of respect for Leon striking, but he just showed no fear, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just that persistent pressure, and he kept pressuring Leon against the fence. We've seen it at one occasion. I think it was in the fourth round where he went for a takedown in the center of the octagon, wasn't successful. But against the fence, when Leon it just kind of freeze in a still position, giving Belal the opportunity to get a few uppercuts off and obviously perform that takedown, which
Yeah.
inevitably every single time would secure Leon's doom for that round. He'd just be sat there, just fighting hands for the rest of the round. That was it. And Belal, you can't really knock him for it. He did exactly what he needed to do. And it was a dominating win, to be honest, apart from
Yeah.
the last 30 seconds.
It was pure domination, wasn't it? And it it fell almost instantly. This what was it, the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds, when Belal took Leon down at will. We almost knew it was all over, didn't we? Okay, this is what's going to happen now for the
Yeah.
next 5 rounds. We knew straight away. And it's a shame because, like we said before, Leon's a very talented fighter, but he just doesn't apply that pressure. He's just happy to coast, and he's. I think he's kind of ruined the division and ruined his legacy now. I think this is going to be a champion that we're going to forget. He had this one fantastic moment, that headshot dead moment, his corner talking to him. It was like a cinematic moment. And the film ended, and I didn't need the sequel.
Yeah, there's no need for that whatsoever. It was just you could almost argue that it was his Buster Douglas moment. And since then, we'll see what's next. I mean, it might be a long time before Leon fights again anyway. He's not the most active fighter. Little bit of a lackluster run as champion,
Mm.
but his win streak was there for a reason. How long has it been since he actually lost a fight? It's been a good few years now.
Been a long time.
And
I
Belal was
think
the
he
guy
was.
to end his streak.
Yeah. Well, do you think though that we could possibly see an instant rematch for Leon Edwards, because he did have two successful defenses, and there's not really a top contender necessarily ready available for Belal? I mean, there's maybe Shavkat, but does Shavkat deserve a title shot? Does JDM deserve a title shot? Does Ian Gary deserve a title shot? It almost feels like the division of undeserving, right? I almost don't expect anyone to
Leon's
fight Belal.
almost the only viable option, I think,
Yeah.
in welterweight contention. It's and a rematch is definitely likely. Maybe even to close out the year, maybe a December card or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know. Usually they put an absolute banger on for the end of the year, so
Yeah.
maybe in the January they'll put this fight on.
Yeah, well, that's normally the case, isn't it? We get a banger final card for the year, and then January's like, oh, who's available 4 weeks after
Yeah.
Christmas? They've all got a belly full of beer and mince pies. Like, I ain't fighting, mate. No thanks. So I think, I don't know. That's probably likely the fight will get. And it's a bit of a shame. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
But, ending on that sour note, who cares? Such a shame. But you know, the British fighters look really good across this card. Arnold Allen got the win, Tom Aspinall got the win, and Paddy Pimblett looked fantastic. So it feels as though, yes, we've lost a champion today, but the future's looking bright for England. Long live the king. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.